his father. So then we have a noise. Uh-oh, what could possibly be going on? King Claudius gets his guard ready, and good thing they just brought it up because Laertes is here. So the gentleman announces that Laertes has arrived, and we have a really interesting comparison here of Laertes, who's rising to action as a result of his father's death. And that comparison is done using the imagery of the ocean. So the ocean imagery there presents his approach for revenge as being both inexorable but also natural. So it contrasts pretty sharply with Hamlet's fairly lackluster approach to getting revenge. Basically here as well we see the disdain for the general populace, the rich people, as Hamlet has since the beginning, referring to peasants and slaves in a really derogatory sense. We can see that the gentleman is referring to the common people as the rabble. So the people aren't following Danish law, which is to have a king who is elected, but it generally followed the bloodline. But they want to put Laertes in Claudius's place. So then, in response to that, Gertrude exclaims, "How cheerfully on the false trail they cry," which is perhaps a little bit naive of her, considering how quickly everyone seemed to move on to Claudius as the new king after the death of her first husband. And Claudius backs her up, saying that it's counter. It's not a smart move. So then we have the doors being broken down. We have Laertes entering armed with a bit of a rabble of army behind him. Laertes is being quite a gentleman. He asks the men with him to stand outside, and they agree, and they go back outside. So think about what the purpose of having the rabble of Danes enter on the stage and then leave again at Laertes' request. Obviously, Laertes is here to hear reason. He hasn't come here in order to actually take the throne and in order to kill Claudius. He wants to hear what has happened. So while he is emotional and does want revenge, he's still willing to listen to reason. So he's not acting without reason at this point. So basically, Laertes has a bit of a go at Claudius and wants to know what happened to his father. Gertrude tries to calm him down, and Laertes responds by saying that if any drop of blood of his is calm, then he must be a bastard. So he's saying that no true-born son could possibly be calm when their father has just been murdered. So it's a clear contrast and parallel to Hamlet and his ability to internalise his disgust until he finds out the truth. So then Claudius wants to know what is wrong, and he says that he can't be hurt, which is... so he says that treason can't hurt him, which is a fairly ridiculous thing to say, but it's just a sign of Claudius's arrogance, or perhaps a sign of his intelligence, that he's already noticed that Laertes is not out to kill him at this point. He just wants answers. So Laertes asks where Polonius is, and Claudius is quite blunt about the fact that he's died. And Gertrude intervenes because she's worried about Claudius, not by him. And Claudius says, no, let him ask his questions. I'm not afraid to answer. And so Laertes says, how did he die? And then he says, to hell allegiance, vows to the blackest devil, conscience and grace to the profoundest pit, I dare damnation. So he's saying, even though I've vowed to give my allegiance to the king, even though I have sworn that I will never act against the crown of Denmark, he's now going against that, and he's saying it doesn't matter what I've promised in the past, those promises are all now worthless. So this is, again, total contrast with Hamlet, because Laertes is talking about the fact that he's willing to follow his passion completely once he's 100% sure who has killed his father. So Claudius wants to know what's going to stop him. And Laertes says, nothing will stop me. Claudius just double checks here that when he gets his revenge, he won't punish more than just the person who actually was responsible for Polonius's death. So this is, again, a contrast. So Hamlet has already caused one death in his quest for madness, and Claudius is now just checking with Laertes, are you willing to draw other people in search for your revenge? And Laertes says, no, I'm not. And he says that to the friends of my father, I'll open my arms and look after them and help them out. And so Claudius responds to that by saying that he's a good child and a true gentleman. So he's suggesting there that carrying out revenge to the people who have done wrong is quite natural as long as no one else is hurt. A more cynical view of this is that Claudius has quite a lot to lose. The people are backing Laertes, and Laertes is physically in a position where he could kill Claudius if he wanted to. So perhaps Claudius is manipulating Laertes to get him on side. But it certainly seems to suggest that the social norms for the time were that you were a good child and a gentleman if you got revenge for the death of your father, as long as no one else got hurt. So then we have some more noises from off stage, and in comes Ophelia. So Laertes sees Ophelia and vows more revenge. Thy madness shall be paid by weight, so that he can continue to protect his family. So again, we're seeing ideas about revenge and masculinity being tied up here as an immediate reaction, which suggests that it's a cultural norm. And he refers to Ophelia as a rose. So we've gone back to that flower imagery. We've got here another example of Ophelia's madness. So she gets to sing and carry on a little bit more. So it's really an extended amount of time for us to come to terms with Ophelia's madness, which emphasises that the results of all of the evil of the other characters has been to completely destroy an innocent person. And so we'll come to that in a minute. So then there's just one line there where Laertes says that seeing Ophelia mad is more of a motive for revenge than if Ophelia had been sane and asked for it. So again, he's showing his preference for emotion over intellect. And then Ophelia starts handing out flowers. So she hands out rosemary for remembrance, and pansies for thoughts. So she's probably giving those to Laertes. And then she starts handing out fennel, columbines, rue and daisies. So she's handing out flowers. So we've got the symbolism there with rue and violets standing for sorrow and death. And so it's really showing, that flower imagery there is really symbolically showing the loss of Ophelia's innocence as a result of other people's deception and focus on revenge. Okay. And there we have her talking about violets again. So then basically Ophelia is just being mad, and then she leaves, and Laertes is upset about it. Claudius appeals to Laertes' reason at this point. So he says, okay, I know you're upset, but go and choose your most wise friends. And if you find that I have had anything to do with Polonius's death and Ophelia's madness, I'll give you my kingdom. I'll give you my crown, I'll give you my life, I'll give you everything that I have. But if you find that I am not guilty, that I had nothing to do with Polonius's death and Ophelia's madness, then I will help you get revenge. And so Laertes is quite happy to do that. So he lists the things that he wants Claudius to answer for. Claudius just says, no worries, I'll answer all of your questions, and where the offence is, that person who has committed the crime is the one who should be punished. So again, it contrasts with the fact that Hamlet has killed Polonius inadvertently.